What if the truth about love isn't beautiful? What if the person who claims to love you the most is also the one who can destroy you without mercy? One man tried to warn the world. His name was Arthur Schopenhauer, and his warning was ignored. The air of Berlin was cold that evening, not the kind that chills your body, but the kind that quietly freezes something inside the soul. Arthur Schopenhauer walked along the old cobblestone street, clutching a letter in his shaking hand. The lamplights flickered like uncertain hopes. Every step he took, he heard the echo of his own heartbeat. Fast, desperate, afraid. He whispered to himself, "She will understand. She must." Because for months he had imagined only one future, a future with her. Her name was Caroline, a woman with a voice soft like piano keys, and a will stronger than iron. Arthur adored her, needed her, worshipped her. He believed she would stay. He believed love was enough. But when he reached her doorway, he saw her suitcase first. Then her eyes, calm, unbroken, untouched by pain. "Arthur," she said softly, "I can't do this anymore." His heart cracked. He tried to speak, but sorrow locked his throat. Caroline stepped closer. "You love too deeply, and that means one day you will cage me with your love." Arthur's eyes filled with confusion. She continued, "I need a man who doesn't need me to survive." And just like that, she walked away. No tears, no hesitation. Her footsteps were steady, like she was walking toward a better future. But Arthur, he stood silent, like a statue carved from heartbreak. That night, Arthur Schopenhauer learned, a woman will never stay with a man who loses himself for love. Days passed, then weeks. Arthur didn't sleep. He barely ate. He filled page after page of his diary. How can love disappear so easily? Why do women seek a stronger man? Why wasn't my heart enough? The world outside continued like nothing had happened. People buying bread, children laughing, men shouting in noisy taverns. But inside Arthur's room, the world was ending. He stared into his candlelight every night, whispering, "What do women truly want?" Every memory with Caroline became a clue. Every smile she gave him became a puzzle. Every silence, a message he had failed to understand. One night, a terrifying thought struck him. What if women are not what men imagine at all? What if love is not a gift, but a survival tool? And suddenly, Arthur's sadness turned into curiosity. Curiosity turned into obsession. Obsession turned into philosophy. Arthur began observing couples in markets, in parks, in cafes. He noticed something that changed him forever. Women did not choose the men who loved them the most. Number. They chose the men who were more confident, less predictable, stronger, more ambitious, harder to emotionally control. A man who begged was abandoned. A man who walked away was chased. Arthur wrote angrily in his journal, "The more a man kneels, the more a woman walks away. She wants a rock, not a river." And then the core of his new philosophy, a woman does not love the man. She loves the power the man possesses. Not because she is cruel, but because nature designed her to choose survival. A man loves from the heart. A woman loves from instinct. This truth was like fire, burning away every illusion he once believed. Caroline had moved on quickly. Arthur saw her once in passing, laughing beside a taller, confident man with warrior-like presence. It hurt. It destroyed what little hope was left inside him. But instead of collapsing, Arthur finally understood his purpose. He sat alone by his window as the sun set over Berlin, and he wrote, "Love fooled me, and I let it. I believed love was pure, but nature is ruthless. A man who places a woman above his mission loses both the woman and the mission." He closed his journal. His eyes hardened, not with hatred, but with truth. That night, Arthur Schopenhauer transformed. He was no longer the man who loved blindly. He had become the man who sees. He whispered one last message to his past self. "Never again will I let love destroy my dignity." The candle flame flickered, as if the universe itself nodded in agreement. Weeks after heartbreak, Arthur Schopenhauer sat in a crowded park, alone but not lonely anymore. His eyes were sharp, analyzing every detail around him. He noticed a couple arguing nearby. The woman looked furious. She shoved the man's shoulder, yelled at him, yet her eyes sparkled with desire. The man, calm, firm, unshaken, and after a heated moment, she suddenly pulled him closer and kissed him, like the argument never happened. That scene shattered another illusion inside Arthur. He whispered to himself, "A woman doesn't desire peace. She desires passion. Control excites her more than comfort." He wrote quickly in his notebook. She pushes the man to test his strength. If he bends too easily, attraction dies. If he stands firm, desire ignites. Women do not seek drama, they seek proof. Proof that the man is stronger than her storms. Arthur returned to his room and opened books of biology, psychology, and ancient philosophies. He scribbled bold words. Nature is the real author of love. A woman's heart is guided by survival instinct. He realized, a woman wants a man who can protect her future, not a weak heart filled with insecurity, not a desperate lover with no direction, but a man with a purpose greater than her, a will she cannot control, check mark, a confidence she cannot break. Arthur leaned back, stunned. This wasn't hatred. This wasn't bitterness. It was truth. He wrote again, a man's love is immediate. A woman's love is an evaluation. She measures, can he protect me? Can he lead? Can he stay strong when I test him? If the answer is no, she leaves, without hesitation, without guilt, because instinct is not emotional. It is brutally practical. Arthur met his old friend Friedrich at a smoky tavern. The atmosphere smelled of wine, wood, and unspoken regrets. Arthur shared his discoveries about women. Women respect power more than affection. Women chase certainty more than love. But Friedrich laughed loudly. "You're wounded, Arthur." "Heartbroken. Not all women are like Caroline." Arthur smiled a painful smile. "Then answer this. Why do women reject the men who worship them?" Friedrich's face changed. Arthur continued, "Why do they fall for the men who challenge them? Why do they desire danger over devotion?" Silence. Friedrich lowered his gaze. Because he too had been left by a woman he loved too much. Arthur calmly sipped his drink and added, "She doesn't want to destroy the strong man. She wants to feel his strength, emotion, instinct, desire. They are all tests, and real love is survival dressed in romance." One evening, Arthur returned home, passing through a narrow street near the opera house. There stood a woman in a red dress, beautiful, fearless eyes, a smirk that could both invite and destroy. She caught Arthur staring. "Do you write about women?" she asked, stepping closer. Arthur nodded slowly. She traced his jawline with her finger. "Then remember this," she whispered. "A woman never chooses the man who follows her. She chooses the man she cannot control." Her presence was electric, powerful. Arthur's heart raced, not with naive longing, but with a new understanding. As she walked away into the night, her final words echoed, "We want men who make us feel alive." Arthur realized, women don't search for love first. They search for life. Life in excitement, life in emotional storms, life in a man who stands unshaken. He opened his journal and wrote, "A woman's deepest desire is not safety, it is strength." The truth was no longer a wound. It was weapon. And Arthur Schopenhauer had finally picked it up. Arthur Schopenhauer walked through Vienna's quiet library, lost in thought. A young man approached him, nervous, shy, eyes full of heartbreak. "Sir, I give her everything. I love her more than my own life. Why does she treat me like I'm nothing?" Arthur placed a hand on the young man's shoulder. "Because you love her more than yourself." The young man froze. "You want her approval, her validation, her smiles? You have made her your purpose." Arthur continued, voice colder but filled with truth. "When a man becomes a worshiper, the woman becomes a god, and gods do not love their worshipers." The young man's lips trembled. Arthur didn't comfort him. He freed him. "If she comes before your purpose, she will never choose you." Women do not fall for the man who serves them. They fall for the man serving himself. A mission, a path, a destiny. One she can join, not replace. Arthur sat at his desk writing. Two types of men approach women. The lover, the leader, kneels for acceptance, stands for values, chases approval, inspires admiration. Tell me what to do. Follow me if you want. Afraid to lose her, she is afraid to lose him. He paused, remembering Caroline, the woman who once shattered him. He had been the lover, begging, pleasing, surrendering, and she left for a man who didn't offer his heart. He offered his direction. Arthur clenched his pen. A woman does not want to rule the king. She wants the king who cannot be ruled. His heart ached with understanding. Wisdom often arrives wrapped in pain. At a social gathering, Arthur quietly observed a wealthy young lady and her timid fiancé. She teased him harshly in front of others. She called him weak. She mocked his achievements. She questioned his courage. The man forced a nervous smile, saying softly, I just want you to be happy. Arthur whispered to himself, he is trying to impress her, while she is trying to feel him. She pushed him aggressively. She wanted to see, will he stand firm? Will he protect his dignity? Will he lead? But he bowed his head, apologizing repeatedly. Her eyes turned cold. That was the moment her love died. A woman doesn't stop loving, she stops respecting, and that is irreversible. Arthur wrote in his mind, love without respect becomes pity, and a woman does not sleep with a man she pities. Later that night, Arthur encountered Caroline, the same woman who once destroyed him. She smiled politely. Time had changed her, but not her eyes. You look different, she said. Arthur replied calmly, because I finally realized why you left. She raised an eyebrow. A queen cannot love a servant, he said. She needs a king to become a queen. Caroline didn't argue. She didn't mock. She didn't smile. She simply looked at him with respect, and for the first time, not because he wanted her, but because he no longer needed her. Arthur turned away and whispered what he now knew. Love does not win a woman's heart. Leadership does. As he walked into the city lights, the world felt less confusing. Arthur Schopenhauer sat in his dimly lit study when a heartbroken gentleman visited him. Well-dressed, well-spoken, and utterly destroyed. I did everything right, the man insisted. I respected her, protected her, loved her more than she ever asked. Yet she left me for someone colder, reckless, dangerous. Arthur sighed deeply. You gave her comfort, he replied, but comfort is not life. The man frowned. What do women really want then? Arthur stood, walked to the window and spoke slowly. Women do not leave the man who treats them badly. They leave the man who makes them feel nothing. Love without excitement becomes friendship. Safety without risk becomes boredom. Devotion without power becomes weakness. She didn't choose the villain over the hero. She chose emotion over emptiness. Arthur met a young woman named Elise during an evening salon. Her beauty was dulled only by her sadness. You speak often of suffering, Arthur noted. Why choose the men who cause it? Elise looked into his eyes with a strange fire. Because with them, I feel alive, she confessed. The excitement of waiting for his call, the jealousy that twisted her stomach, the fear of losing him, the thrill every time he returned. Every emotion was a proof of love. Elise whispered, the good man offers peace, but peace feels like silence. And silence feels like death, Arthur wrote in his thoughts. A woman would rather cry with passion than smile without it. Not because she wants harm, but because she wants fire. Arthur spoke to a small gathering of men. Women do not love cruelty, he explained. They love potential, the power a man holds. A woman falls for a man who could dominate the world, could walk away, could hurt her feelings, but chooses to stay gentle. That is where attraction lives, in the shadow of danger. Arthur tapped his notebook. If you cannot be the wolf, she cannot trust you as the shepherd. A man who never stands his ground, A man who never says no. A man who never has a temper. A man who never makes decisions. A man who never challenges her is a man she cannot feel. Because a woman doesn't want a man she can win against. She wants a man she must earn. Later that night, Arthur walked alone thinking of Caroline again, the woman who left him shattered long ago. She once told him, "You are kind, but I don't feel anything burning." At the time, it broke him. Now, he finally understood. She wasn't choosing pain. She was choosing presence. She wanted the man who would challenge her, the man who wouldn't fear her emotions, the man who made her heart beat faster, the man who had a destiny beyond her. Arthur stopped under a street lamp and whispered, "A woman would rather risk heartbreak than settle for a love that never changes her." He closed his eyes, feeling the truth settle in his bones. She didn't leave him for someone better. She left him for someone she could feel. Michael didn't sleep that night. Schopenhauer's words kept echoing like a haunting warning. They will love your strength until it challenges their control. They will adore your mind until it sees through their illusions. He sat near his window, watching the city lights fade into darkness. But this time, he wasn't heartbroken. He wasn't confused. He was awake. He remembered how Emily once said, "Just don't be too serious, okay?" At the time, he thought she meant, "Have fun, smile more." But now he understood the hidden meaning. Don't think too deeply. Don't question too much. Just make me feel good. Every argument they ever had, every moment she pulled away, it wasn't because he was wrong. It was because he saw the truth too clearly. He wasn't just a boyfriend. He was a mirror that reflected her insecurities. Women crave connection, but fear exposure. They want the warmth of your confidence, but not the heat of your wisdom. Most men think women want intelligence. But here is the secret. Women want intelligence, as long as it is charming. Women fear intelligence when it becomes revealing. Because a wise man sees when she is lying to herself, when her love has conditions, when her desires change, when she values attention over affection. And no woman wants to be seen that clearly, not even the good ones. Schopenhauer once wrote, "Love is a trap nature sets to keep the species going." Men fall in love with the person. Women fall in love with the experience. And experiences end. Michael closed the book and whispered, "So, should I stop loving?" A voice inside him answered, "No. Just stop loving blindly, because the woman who truly loves a man's mind is the rarest love of all." To be continued. In part 6, the woman he never expected enters his life, and everything changes. The next evening, Michael sat in the same old cafe, a silent customer lost in his own thoughts. He wasn't waiting for anyone, yet destiny was waiting for him. As he flipped the last page of Schopenhauer's book, a soft voice broke the silence. "You're reading The World as Will and Representation? Most men avoid that." Michael looked up. A woman stood there, not beautiful in the typical sense, but something in her eyes was dangerous, calm, intelligent, unapologetically aware. She didn't smile to be liked. She didn't speak to impress. Her presence was real. "I'm Anna," she said. "I believe love only survives where illusions die." Michael froze. He wasn't used to honesty that sharp. Emily made him doubt himself, but this woman made him wake up. For once, he didn't feel like explaining himself. He felt understood without words. Schopenhauer had warned, when a woman sees through you, she will leave. When she sees into you, she will stay. Emily always saw through him. Anna was seeing into him, and that difference could rewrite a man's destiny. She leaned closer, eyes locked into his soul. "Tell me something real, Michael. Anything. Anything that hurts." He had spent months trying to hide his pain, but with her, hiding felt like lying. So he told her everything. Emily, the rejection, the confusion, the heartbreak. Anna didn't interrupt. She didn't judge. When he finished, she simply said, "Good. Now you can start with the truth for the first time in months." Michael felt alive. Not because someone adored him, not because someone needed him, but because someone finally recognized him, and recognition is stronger than love. As she stood to leave, she turned back and whispered, "Careful, Michael. The women who understand you are the most dangerous." Michael's heart skipped. Why did she say that? What did she see in him that he still didn't? Michael couldn't sleep that night. Anna's words kept haunting him. The women who understand you are the most dangerous. Why? Dangerous how? To whom? To him or to themselves? The next day they met again in the same cafe. Rain tapped against the window like a ticking countdown. Anna studied him with unsettling calm. "You think intelligence protects you," she said, "but you're wrong." Michael frowned. "Schopenhauer said most women want security, love, attention." She smirked. "And you believed him?" For the first time, he felt she was the wiser one. Anna leaned forward, voice sharp as a blade. "The real tragedy isn't that women disappoint men. It's that men expect too much from love." Michael stayed silent. Every cell of his body was listening. She continued, "Men love with their soul. Women love with their survival. Men fall for beauty. Women fall for power. Men search for meaning. Women search for stability." Michael breathed slowly. "Truth hurts differently when spoken with compassion. A woman doesn't break your heart to be cruel. She breaks your heart to save her future." Michael clenched his hands. He thought of Emily, how she walked away not because she didn't care, but because she cared more for her own life. Then Anna said the sentence that would mark him forever. "You disappointed her because you were waiting to become someone." She left because she couldn't afford to wait silence. Michael's throat tightened. He always thought she didn't value him, but the truth was far darker. Emily didn't believe he would ever become the man he was trying to be. Anna stood up to leave. Michael asked, "Then what do you want from me?" She smiled, not with affection, but with recognition. "A man who already knows his worth. Not one who needs me to confirm it." She placed her hand gently on his shoulder. "Become someone first. Then choose love," and just like that, she walked out into the rain and vanished. Michael sat still, a heart no longer naive, a mind no longer blind, and a truth he would never forget. Love isn't cruel. Expectations or men think heartbreak destroys them, but heartbreak transforms them from who they wanted to be into who they are meant to be.